Welcome to FMA Talk Live. This is your host, Dr. Tim, and my guest, Mark Mikita. How you doing, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
Fine, although I'm having a little hiccup here. Looks like the Facebook was not doing its job, so I am trying to get this up and running. Let me see here. Did this go? Because all of a sudden it said, your Facebook is not connected. So let me make sure this is going. Looks we're live. Okay, very good. All right, yeah. And then I want to put this over on my personal one just because it's an extra very okay. All right, everybody. This is Datu Tim. As I said, Mark Mikita. Listen, when you're logging in and making comments to us, please tell us what part of the world you're coming from. You know, we've got viewership all around the world, which is great. And you know, I'm really excited on this show to do a deep dive. We did last week. We did about martial arts schools, and Mr. Mikita was one of our guests on this. And but it's not the episode I really wanted to do. Today's the episode I wanted to do because I really want to dig deep on who is this guy. You know, if you are a West Coaster, you guys all know each other pretty well. And I grew up. I'm Gen X Prime, the first year of us. And, you know, when we were looking for martial arts and seminars and training camps, you had to look it up in Black Belt Magazine or Inside Kung Fu or something along those lines. All print publications. Nothing was done online because it didn't exist back then, or at least not to the public. And Mr. Mark, just his name kept coming up, but there's nothing I can really get anything tangible on, and it was like that mystery man. And there's a few people in my career that you know, there's that I always heard things about, but I knew nothing about, like Dr. Mungji from Bondo.
Sure. He
was a guy forever and a day, and then he's one of my mentors now. But it was just like, you know, you heard about this guy. It was a secretive dude, and not secretive, but it was just hard to get any intel. And you know, being on the East Coast, there was a huge disconnect between the East Coast, Central, and West Coast because we didn't have social media. So I am so excited to have you on the show. And tell everyone, where are you located?
I'm in Marina Del Rey, really close to the water in Los Angeles.
Okay, in the Metro LA area. Excellent. And how long have you been doing your martial arts?
Since the late 60s.
There we go.
I started when I was a kid and really got into, I mentioned at the last podcast, my father fought in the Philippines in World War II. So his reverence for Filipino guerrillas from that time really kind of inspired me to look for Filipino martial arts. So that's how I got into Filipino martial arts.
You know, and when I say this is going to come off completely wrong. So what a resource it would have. I mean, listen, we don't want anyone to fight wars. We don't want anyone to have to lay hands on each other as martial artists. We want to get along, be friends with everybody, not have problems. But from a point of reference for I mean, I've been a victim as well as witnessed a lot of violent crimes throughout my life. You know, whether it was to me or when I worked security and stuff like that. And it definitely has helped my martial arts because I can put things in proper context of what's more skill development versus practical application. And then as far as different categories, like working security is completely different than what a civilian is doing versus what military versus law enforcement. And hopefully, you know, your father survived that experience in a very good way. Because obviously when people go to war and you see people not make it back with you, it can affect you in a negative way. But as a martial artist, what a resource to have, you know, having your father have been there and done that. You could ask him the questions like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Or anybody who's, you know, whether, you know, like when I have police in my school, I'm always asking them questions when I have security and bouncers or people ask me, well, Tim, what have you done? Well, okay, what's this? I don't like that kind of stuff because this is the reason why I've never been able to make that work or see it work because someone in the street's going to go, But
Sure.
so how much? I mean, how much has your father? Obviously, he inspired you to seek out the
Yeah.
Filipino arts, but how much was he part of that development, or did you go back and ask questions about things as time went on, or?
Huge actually. I started. There was no way to find Filipino martial arts back then. Nobody had a strip mall school teaching Filipino martial arts. So, in fact, as I mentioned to you before, back in the 40s, nobody even said the term martial arts. But when I got kind of nutso crazy about martial arts, practicing constantly and actively studying, I started in Kyuksulwan, a Korean martial art, and moved on to some other Korean martial arts. And I think once I got past that point where the parents go, well, maybe this isn't just a fad, a couple of weeks in, my father started talking to me about his wartime experiences, not going into too much detail. I was just a kid. But he just kept saying, we have to find you Filipino martial arts. If you're going to do this, then let's find the right stuff. And it was actually through him he found my first Filipino teacher. His last name was Santos. He was a gunnery sergeant on an army base. And that's actually how it began. That was when I was 11.
Okay, so my other co-host, my four-legged one, we're taking him in to have some X-rays tomorrow. So of course he's not being fed. He's on a fasting moment. So you might hear a little barking. So I will be muting periodically. But
no worries.
So on that vein, how structured was this? More theme-based? Was it rotating? I mean, obviously, it's different. The guy didn't have a school, but what was the teaching progression from Mr. Santos?
I think gunnery sergeant really kind of puts it in context. I think it was the classic, his uncle taught his other uncle and he learned it it was kind of a family vein of FMA. But he was very hardcore. He was a combat veteran and just went immediately to the application. And we backed up from there to study principles and techniques, but it was always about how can I actually make this work in a real situation? And you mentioned last week that some arts, for example, Balint walk, have evolved into what you can call stick dueling arts. And he would oftentimes kind of talk about this split between dueling arts or street kind of self-defense oriented arts and jungle warfare, multiple opponents, 4 o'clock in the morning, dark of the moon, martial arts. And he would emphasize one or the other. We would oftentimes work on battlefield generalship when there was a couple of us working. So how to move amongst multiple opponents with a blade, sometimes with a stick. It would change the way you moved. It would change the way you adjusted yourself from one opponent to the other. So it was for a kid, it was astounding compared to hands on your hips and standing in stances and so forth. So it was super cool.
My Bondo, Dr. G had, there's a military element. I'm just going to say that he's a controversial figure. We're not going to go down that path, but we did a lot of multiple opponent military lines type training, which is completely different than how Filipino martial arts are normally delivered to us.
Yeah.
So that must have been a unique experience right there alone.
Well, it certainly opens it up, and you start to realize how powerful it is to have a weapon in your hand. It totally changes everything. And how you can oftentimes sabotage yourself by using the weapon incorrectly or by presuming things about the weapon that are movie-based fantasies that have no basis in reality. I'm sure you and I could personally talk about that for hours, but I think coming back to it, and that's where my father came at it too. His experience of Filipino guerrillas was watching them as point men deal with the Japanese soldiers before he and his Army Ranger buddies had to. So he saw many a Bolo versus Gunto or Japanese saber battles, none of which were ever won by the Japanese, by the way. So it wasn't a self-defense. Let's tap sticks together and say we're friends at the end. No, this was definitely kill or be killed. So it was to come from my dad, who was very much let's get to the point kind of a guy. In fact, when I was doing traditional martial arts, he asked the classic question. I love how he put it. He said, boxers don't like to get hit in the face. So if putting your hands on your hips worked better than putting your hands up by your face, boxers would probably do that. It's a great way of putting it to a kid. He goes, why don't you ask your instructor why you don't put your hands up? Why do you have your hands on your hips? And he wasn't being disrespectful. He was just genuinely curious. So I went and I asked the teacher, and the teacher, in typical fashion back then, he said, well, you will eventually understand. And I went back and told my dad that's what he said. And my dad goes, no, that's not instruction. That's evasion. So ask him again. And when I did, he said I was being insubordinate. And my dad, in his salty language, told him where he could shove that. And he said, let's go find you a real teacher. And I'm just a kid. I'm respectful of my elders. So this is revolutionary to me. But then he explained that teachers are signposts. They're providers of information. They're history books. They're technical books. They're not people who stand in the way of you learning things by not answering your questions. So that really kind of changed the way I looked at studying, and I realized that I was the most important person in the room if I was the student. It's the way I teach in my own school, that the students are the most important people in the room. It's them who guides the class. It's not me or my ego-centered, I'm at the top of the heap kind of mentality. It's entirely based on the questions they ask, either physically or verbally. More often than not, as you know, as a teacher, the questions are more physical. You can see the questions in their movements and in their lack of physical understanding of what we're doing.
Well, and I don't want to fault any of these instructors from back in the day. I mean, people were taught by rote, they learned by rote, and they trusted the people that trained them. So, this is what Sensei told us to do. So that's what we did. And, and of course, when we ask questions as Americans, we're asking for seeking knowledge, where some of the Asian cultures were more like, are you questioning my authority and my knowledge of what I'm doing? And it's like, no.
Yeah.
We're inquisitive. We want to know how things work, and unfortunately, because there was a disconnect in culture, a lot of times things got twisted. We can talk about all these different things now, and people say, well, you should have done this, you should have done that. I go, yeah, tell us that 40, 50, 60 years ago when things first, because, we could barely speak, probably a lot of the language was done via sign language of sort of like, hey, can you show me food? How do I hit with this thing?
I've had more than one Filipino teacher who spoke basically zero English. And in a lot of ways, those were actually the best, because the language got out of the way and we just did the physical art. So imagine you're dealing with your pup. And he's back. There you
are. I put the gate down so he can come into the room with me. Come here, buddy.
Okay.
Come. Oh yeah, he's $175 now, so he's
eating out of house and home.
I think it's a race between him and I who's going to do that, but that's another story. It's coming up with a military family, and I think having had my father was a vet and is law enforcement as well, and I think there's obviously an emphasis on real world protection versus art. Mm-hmm. I think there's place for all of it. Martial art, martial sport, martial combat, because not everyone's going to want the same thing. And if we're giving people an outlet, a stress outlet, if we're giving people exercise opportunities, or an avenue for people to express themselves, it doesn't necessarily all have to be about combatives, but if they're coming to learn how to protect themselves and their families, then that's got to be paramount. For me, if martial arts is a spear, the tip is the combatives.
Yeah, I agree. I also, as somebody who's been doing this all my life, the last thing I want to do is be in a martial arts school full of people standing around pretending to be militaristic and scowling all the time. That's the worst kind of training. I actually seek a really good balance between the darkest kind of humor and the depth into the darkness we're actually exploring the art. Because when you start to talk about the ruthlessness of this art and the intentional cruelty of some of the techniques, you kind of have to balance it with a sense of humor, or you'll kind of go mad and become this dark, horrible person. I don't want to do that. It would be not a service to society to have my students do that. So
I get you. So there's a bunch of things I actually have a list here, so I want to make sure we're going through here. So you know, you see, you've written books before, right? If I recall properly. Okay. So how many books have you written, and do you have any other projects coming up soon when it comes to the books?
Well, there's one book that I published it last year, and that's called Mastering Sumbrada. I did that because I have a very hard time seeing all the videos of people doing the box pattern all over the world, and I just wanted to try to liberate people from the prison of that. I also have a online course that does the same thing, but the book was my attempt to try to put in the physical hands of students something that they could actually go, and maybe I can learn how to do this in an intelligent way rather than just doing this kind of patty cake back and forth thing with my sticks. That's gone like gangbusters and has gotten only positive reviews, so I've been super pleased by that. So in this last couple of months, I decided to tackle a much more difficult subject to write about, and that's an exercise called Come a Lion, which it's difficult to write about because there's no pattern, there's no set way of doing it. It's basically like the Seinfeld series. You have to, it's about nothing. So how to effectively describe something that doesn't have any form or shape, and then get people to do it so that they can actually grow from it. It's been a challenge. I'm up to the challenge, but it's been very interesting. But Come a Lion is as you may have seen on the top of the mock-up book cover, Come a Lion is to FMA what randori or rolling is to BJJ. It allows us to actually go out and test everything from disarms to counter disarms, tie-ups, locks, everything against an opponent who's resisting and also trying to do the same thing back to us. Okay. It's also an exercise that you can win, just like in randori, I can tap you out. So you can do the same. You can essentially get to checkmate in Come a Lion. So as you know, in most FMA drills, they're either feeder-based or pattern-based, and you're following certain parameters within it. And that's okay to get some certain attributes down, but at a certain point, we need to find out whether we can actually do this against somebody who doesn't want us to do it, and have them do the same thing to us. And that's what Come a Lion is. So.
Yeah. Well, I know Sumbrada drill. We used to call 6-count drill, and we used to have a thrusting or some Kidi version of this, which would make it a 10-count. I know there's the Punya Sumbrada that you see a lot out of the Inasano Academy and stuff of that. Those people. We really didn't use it. It's in our system, but we didn't use it a lot. I have gone in and done more with it. But it's not, I mean, it's still not a lot. I mean, we start throwing some random feeds in there to get people, but even then it's still, we stick to, pun intended. We stick to the structure, but I know a lot of times there's a lot of people like us. I think I've taken it to another level than most people do, but I think a lot of times Filipino martial arts, whether it's an FMA system or just a martial arts school cross training, they see a cool drill. Oh, good. We can plug and play into what we're doing, and they don't do much with it. And I know Professor, I mean, it was a big thing at one time, and then we would do some random feeds in there, which was cool. But I think because of the quantity of people he had and the lack of verbal skills he had, linguistic skills, he went a different. His tappy was much better. And it was easier, much better for him. It was easier to put variations in there and still stay on point for a while, put in a couple inserts to break up the timing and the tempo and stuff of that nature. But I know people who've done a lot more with it. But I also know people who just plug it in. There it is. It's a placeholder. And if we're talking Filipinos and Filipino martial arts from the islands, a lot of the guys all trained from more or less the same place, and they just went out on their own and just rebranded what they were doing, and everything becomes a slight variation of the the primary theme. Let me see here. Skyline Warrior says hello, and then greetings from the Azurin family from Boston. There we go. And then Tony Ortega says hello. Mark. Yeah. He's an old buddy. There we go. So tell us about your online. I love online and I dislike online all at the same time. Why do you dislike it? Tell me the bad. I love online. I think it's great to reach out to people. I don't like the virtual seminars that are going on right now because we need to get away from that. I do a hybrid where I have a physical seminar going on in my school and I have virtual attendees and I have a partner. But I see people who are doing weekly classes and seminars like that with no partner, and you might as well be just doing kata. And I, at a bare minimum, I know there's no question in my mind, I offer better value than these guys, because just having a partner changes everything. Seeing a body swinging at you versus using your imagination. And some people just don't have good imagination. And then, of course, Tijuana says, hello. Hello, gentlemen. Hello, sir. I love it to supplement, but not to substitute training. And that's my problem with virtual stuff or online training. I mean, I have my online university as well, so I'm not saying that I don't do it. I just, so we all understand. Oh, and there we go. Former student of Mark's and refining partner. There we go. There. Yeah. So, great. But tell us about your he meant training partner. Refining training, it's all the same. Tell us about your online courses, though. I'm very interested about. Well, the online courses, people have asked me to do sort of the online academy where they can kind of tune in and have classes. But to me, the pandemic proved the valuelessness of that kind of training. We're all standing in our separate rooms, essentially talking about it, and until you can touch hands with me, you're just not going to get the nuances. You can pretend, you can imitate, but until you feel it, you're never really learning it. So what is available, what I did put out, is again this. I really wanted to beat the brains out of the 6-count box pattern in Sumbrada. So I did a 65 video mastering Sumbrada course. that one has sold tremendously, and I've been super gratified by that. I've actually seen a few seminars across the country where a portion of the seminar is exploring the Mikita system of Sumbrada, which I don't like that term tremendously, but I'll take it as a compliment that they're taking the teachings and applying them, which is great. And then I also did a smaller course on disarming and counter disarming, because I get asked that a lot when I'm teaching seminars, and a lot of the teachers dig into the like Psycho Mohawk. There we go. Very nice, very nice, very slick. So I get asked a lot. I've done a few workshops where they just ask me to do the disarming thing, and I'll just grab somebody random out of the audience and say, well, disarm me. You've been studying for 20, 30 years. Go ahead and disarm me, and I'll counter disarm them. And the issue with that isn't that they're not doing it correctly. The issue is that they're doing a system, and it's predictable. So I know how they're going to do it. I know what they're going to do, and that makes them readily counter disarmable. So also, I don't think, as much as a lot of schools talk about disarming and counter disarming, I've been in many FMA schools where a vine disarm is one technique. There's just one vine disarm. There are hundreds of different variations of vine disarms, but most people don't really dig into disarming that much. So with no effort on my own part, I sort of became the guy who disarms everybody or counter disarms everybody. So that's been a kind of cool, gratifying thing as well. I don't really have anything right now planned to do more on the online. The books are a little bit more interesting to me right now, but I'm open to stuff. I actually, the Kamalayan book actually came out of people asking me to write that. So I'm open to people
seeking out that information and having something specific to kind of address for the student. Again, the student being the most important person.
I get you. So tell me about something. Tell me about this wall.
Oh, the mural. Like, I had no intention of doing that.
This is no longer in existence, or
no? The pandemic kind of brought that space to an end, unfortunately. Although I think the landlord was planning to sell the building, so I probably would have moved out anyway. But it was just hastened by the pandemic. The mural kind of. I went to school for technical illustration and design and so forth, but I'd never painted a mural before.
Okay.
The first thing I painted there was the skeleton with the angles of attack, because I didn't want to constantly grab somebody to use them as the dummy for the targets and angles of attack. So I just wanted to have something on the wall. After that, I did the Philippines and the sword and stick on the wall, which that I just did for fun. Did it in an interesting way. I kind of went outside the lines of the door just to experiment with doing that, because I think most people wouldn't do that. Kind of a side note: when I was a child, when we moved from airbase to airbase to airbase, my dad knew that every time we would move, they'd send a crew in, they'd clean the place up, they'd repaint, they'd do all that. So he would give us, whether it was markers or crayons or whatever, and he would say, draw all over the walls, cover the walls with artwork every time we moved, which was revolutionary and kind of bad boyish, but it was all about freeing us. In fact, when he would give us coloring books, he would encourage us to color outside the lines, to not be inhibited by those little boundaries. So the rest of it sort of came about with questions. People would ask me things, and something that I'd have to repeat on a constant basis, I would just end up painting on the wall. Everything on the wall is done freehand, by the way.
Okay.
It took about 3 years to do that.
And that was going to be my next question. So this is like 3 years of questions and answers, and
yeah. And you have to understand, like down at the bottom there, you'll see from a photograph of British commandos working with
I
daggers.
See that in the bottom left. Yep.
Yeah, that painting was me laying on the floor in agony for about 16 hours. So that's how long those kind of pieces take. So a long time.
And what's with the battleship over on the right?
That's the USS New Jersey. That's the flagship of MacArthur's invasion fleet. My father went in with MacArthur in 1944, so I decided to put the New Jersey down there. I hadn't intended for it to be as cool as it was, but when I finished painting it, I realized it reflected in the floor, and it kind of looks like it's floating now, which was super cool. Yeah.
So what's with the hooded dude?
There was something else painted there. There were several different things that kind of came about as I did the paintings, and what I wanted was sort of the raceless, genderless image of a predator. Somebody that we constantly talk about in class, but it's always sort of in the back of our minds. I wanted him to be standing in the room with us. So that was my intention with him.
Cool. Overhead.
Yeah,
overhead of a person, a skeleton there, and
that's this. So I oftentimes refer to the sagittal and coronal planes for movement. Again, going back to my technical illustration days, we did a lot of anatomical drawings. So I actually have taught. I've been a guest professor in community colleges teaching anatomy. So I constantly bring up specific and accurate anatomy with the students.
And then I'm assuming that this is the footwork that goes with your angles of attack.
Oh, well, that's the Escala. You've probably heard of the Escala, just the basic lines of motion for people. So when you're trying to describe, you can move laterally, you can move diagonally, you can move straight forward on a line. It's just a general guideline. The patterns up there at the top, those are first four are basic figure eights, so downward figure eight.
It is all ocho. Yeah.
And then you've got the abanicos after that in the same essential pattern. So
nice,
easy way to describe them for people. For you, because you're a tad older than some people, if you look closely at the vascular system,
Yeah.
you'll notice that on each of the areas next to the forearm, that is an homage to our youth when we were children and we were watching the Kung Fu television series. That was the dragon.
Oh, there we go. There you go.
So
I see something that I have too. And one of my guys is a chiropractor. He hooked me up with these. I love
those are still in the school. Yeah, they're great. Although what's funny is about that, we studied those in illustration school. And over the years, a lot of those illustrations have been corrected because a lot of the terms were in the wrong place and pointing at the wrong muscle. But they've been corrected since then.
This is amazing. This is amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot more all around the school. That was just sort of the big piece. What I wanted to do is I wanted to have just a blank wall that and you're going to understand this more than most, just a blank wall that people could run into without worrying about damaging anything. So that's why I kept that wall blank.
Trying to see what this is. Okay, what's that?
Oh, that's from India. That's Om Mani Padme Om. That's basically a blessing for the space that everybody is well and happy and of good spirit. That is a finger jab strap.
Okay,
that's for finger jabs. Yeah,
this is nice. No, this is amazing. And then looks like you had stuff on the ceiling. Yeah,
there's sort of the universal symbol of death up there, the scythe. So again, I try to keep certain things present. It even says death over the shoulder of the predator.
Yes, I did see that.
I wanted to keep certain things. Also, fear, the ego dissolving. Yeah. So
and then fear, and then the art of relationship, distance, and time. Man, this is amazing. What's with the jet?
It's OODA loop. So created by jet fighters.
Gotcha.
Trying to figure out how to deal with a massive amount of incoming information, so they developed the OODA loop mentality, so they could solve that problem. When you're closing with an enemy at 1,000 miles an hour, you need to simplify.
There you go. One of my favorites, the Val knot.
Yeah, and I used it as a way of describing cool things. Like one of my teachers years ago when I was just a kid doing FMA, he would constantly say everything is about distance, time, and position. So that's why it's written up there. So.
There we go.
And then I constantly say that what we are doing when we do martial arts is we are doing preparedness, we're doing vigilance, and we're doing willingness. You and I can help people with their vigilance. We can help them with preparedness, but they're going to have to decide whether they're willing or not, and that's the personal growth side of it.
And of course, this is probably the most important right here. Whatever works.
It works. Yeah, that's why it's next to a cleaver.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
No, this is great. Oh, this is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you, sir.
Cool. All right. So let me that's badass. I like that. All right. So let me Mr. Wolf is popping in from Ohio. Thank you, Mr. Wolf. And you should probably. There goes my knucklehead dog, my other dog. So it looks like the wife is coming home. And then, Wolf, Mr. Wolf, just give me we got to talk this week. So give me a holler for prep for camp. Okay, so let me see here. I'm getting back to my list of things here. So we did this. All right, so this is something came across my desk one way or another. I hear you've got a new project coming up, and let me see if I can. Let me see if. Let me see which one. Okay, here we go. Yeah. This one. Let me just pop this one over here.
We need a drum roll.
We can do let me see. I'm trying to figure out which one I like better. I think I like this one better. We'll do the more ominous looking one. Okay, so drum roll, please. Here we go. Boom. Warlord. Now I'm hearing something here. I'm hearing that this might be a heavily FMA influenced project. especially when you see a
Absolutely.
Chris sitting there up there like so. And then let me get over to the other one. All right, there we go. Boom.
So this is particularly interesting to me because with the blessing of the writer-director,
Okay.
I am intending to bring the best FMA people in the world to this series and feature them as best we can.
Nice.
So I thought today would be a great opportunity for me to basically put a shout out there to anybody who's, whether they're an ambassador, as you and I are probably referred to often, a teacher, advanced student, a highly skilled practitioner, anybody in that vein, reach out to me, send me a headshot, some photos, some links to videos if you have them, and a little cover letter describing yourself. Email it to me. My email is mark@fightology.com, easy to remember. And as the project moves forward and things start to unfold, we'll probably be doing things with other FMA people more toward the second season, which will be shot relatively soon after we finish the first. It's all based on how the timeline of the stories are explained. We start, it's based in Afghanistan, obviously. We start in 79, goes to 79 to 2001, basically tell that whole history, the history of each character, including my character. And then we go through the war from 2001 to 2020, and then the aftermath when the Americans pull out, what's going on there now. My character remains, and the trials and tribulations he goes through. He's going to be training a lot, so that'll give me opportunities to showcase all kinds of Filipino martial arts, from tapado to sigaran to dumag to every kind of stick permutation, blade permutation, everything. So
how we see this?
It'll be a series. It's a what you might call right now. It's still in the grabbing money kind of phase. So it may turn out that the producers will decide that instead of it being a limited edition series or limited series, sort of like Breaking Bad would be, they may actually decide to make it a series of films. It's all about the money and how best to put it out there. So right now, that's sort of a question that's hanging in the air. I'm not really opposed to either one or preferring either one. I think that the limited edition series will give us more episodes to work with and more character depth and development, but I'm open to either one. But yeah, it's super exciting.
Well, and
something
and
I want
definitely.
to say it again.
Yeah, well, I would say once you get it locked in, we'll definitely talk about this again.
Absolutely.
when it's going to hit the air one way or another, whether it's a streaming service, movies, television, whatever it is, we want to know and we want to share with people.
Super. Well, it's super exciting for me because when I was approached, the whole thing for me is that I don't know how you are, but I really have a hard time watching martial arts in films. I always see the choreography, and I have a harder time watching Filipino martial arts in films because I can't continue to see the same box pattern, the same heaven six done over and over and over again, and have us think of that as Filipino martial arts. So I just changed the channel. So to do a project, I right away to the director, I said, we have to make this as real as possible. And I don't mean literally real, but as real to the truth of Filipino martial arts as possible. For example, as you mentioned, the Chris, this character, based on his whole history growing up in the Philippines, father was in the SAS, things like that. His Filipino background is very strong. And the fact that they're dealing with the Muslim populace there in Afghanistan, he carries Moro Muslim Magsabil blades with him when he's wearing the rest of the armor, the plate armor, carrying them for carbine. So it's a very interesting kind of character, and we will get to see that whatever blade it is, and it'll be different blades, whatever blade it is, we'll get to see what it really does with the beauty and joy of visual effects. So rather than having to pretend and imitate, now we can actually show it. So that was something that really drew me to doing this. So
yeah, I understand that bittersweet. I mean, my thing here is I'd rather have shitty FMA out there than no FMA in the movies, because at least we're getting represented.
Agreed.
That being said, sort of like, okay, so I'm I'm a comic book geek. I'll be the first one to admit it. And when we talk about all the movies out there, my thing is I'd rather have bad ones than none at all because it promotes the genre one way or another. That being said, X-Men Last Stand was terrible. Yeah. The whole X-Men thing was just rough for me because they had rewritten, I think probably the best one they've done so far. I mean, different studio, of course, like Iron Man. I think that was really spot on.
Terrific. That's terrific.
And when I see Dune, and they say, "Oh, it's Ballintwalk," I'm like, "No, there's a couple short pieces of Ballintwalk and Sumbrada." Which is not. And then maybe they jumped in the sea lot when they got the knives going, which they may or may not have done. People are arguing about John Wick, and I could have as much as I want John Wick, that fight scene with when Parabellum with the two sea lot guys there. Everyone's saying sea lot, but now everyone's trying to say it's FMA. I'm like, okay, if it gives us press, fine, but I also don't want to take credit for something we didn't do. But a lot of times the problem is they use FMA in so many movies because, well, the talent doing the material. So we can talk about Star Wars, we can talk about this, we can talk about that, and everyone's like, well, it's this system here and this system there. Yeah, but the talent that's doing the maneuvers, most of them have an FMA background because it's such an adaptive program. You can put anything in our hands and we can make it work. And we can change our accent enough to make it look like what we need to look like. So let me see here. So Tim Dobson from Ontario, Canada says hello. And Matt Jones, yep. What did you miss? We missed a lot of. We talked about a movie coming out. And then nice to see you guys again. Thank you. And Tim is into comic books. Okay, bad. Is that where he got the really bad hairdo? Just kidding. Okay, Matt's an interesting cat. Comes to my seminars, but he's a funny guy, or he thinks he's funny. Matt, I'm talking about you. Yeah. So, but I get it. I mean, just like anytime martial arts are in the movies. I mean, hey Brock, how you doing? There's a guy from Pennsylvania popping in. I mean, I looked at a lot. I draw the line. I draw the line of certain things. The Thai movies are terrible, like Chocolate, where the autistic girl learned through movies and dreams and all this other stuff and beat everybody up. And my friend told me about it. And he was living there for too long, I think. Dude, you got to check this movie out. I looked at him like, this is terrible, because somewhere along the lines, I actually developed taste. I actually watched a movie for plot versus fast forwarding to the. I mean, like, so like when I watch. I love performing arts. I love dance. I love skating. I love watching gymnastics. Any movie that has that in there, or the cheer competition stuff, I will fast forward. Like Bring It On, Bring It On. I would fast forward just to see the dance routines. What was the dance movie that Tatum was? Tatum was in. I can't think of Step It Up. No, Step Up. No. Oh, one of the dance movies, and they had it's like 5 or 6 chapters of the latest one, to part 6, 7, or 8 or whatever. I'm like, okay, all I want to do is fast forward to the dance routines. And some movies I fast forward to the fight routines, but I got to the point now there has to be some kind of plot that makes sense. There has to be quality acting, and like I don't know, I loved Raid. Raid was action packed.
Yeah, Raid was great. Yeah.
And I can appreciate cinematic combat versus real world combat. I love flashbang. I love silly. I love wire work too. I can watch, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Wait, is that Crouching? Whatever it is.
Yeah, that was it.
You can watch
that worked because it was part of the fantasy that they could fly, so it worked.
You might as well have been superhero. So, you're watching Ip Man, all of them. I mean, it was unrealistic how many people he was beating up on, and knowing that it was based off of a real character, I still have some issues with some of the stuff there too. But there's sooner or later there's got to be some quality in these things, for me to stay invested.
Well, fortunately, the director, the writer-director, his name is Ralph Shearer. He's an A-list director. He's done True Detective, House of Cards, Stranger Things, Lucifer. He knows what he's doing, and he's quite brilliant when it comes to the story creation and kind of weaving all these historical things together. I mean, the way he looks at it is that we're actually telling true stories, and we're just taking these people's true stories and we're fictionalizing them enough and combining them so that we can tell a broader narrative about the plight of the country. He really actually wants to do something for the Afghan people and show what's happening to them, because it's really just kind of in the background for us. So he's really making it a point to show it. That was my books, yes.
Yep. So obviously, if anyone wants to get the Sumbrada book, definitely go on to Amazon. And then obviously the next book is coming out soon. And, once we get a date, we will definitely share that on our show.
Great, I appreciate that.
Yeah, he's definitely having one of those days today. Mommy's not here, so he's getting a little porkier than normal. But so the many looks of Mark Mikita. So are you
Mohawk?
Do you normally have?
I should tell you the story of the Mohawk. So
yeah,
I get the question all the time. Usually I just say it was my psychotic summer break, but it actually has a sadder reason. I have a little smidgen of Native American blood in me, and my father talked about that part of us a lot, and he was very respectful of it. And in the particular tribe that I was connected to, which I claim no, I'm not going to go in and say I'm Native American. It's too much of it's this part of my finger, it's a very small part of me. But when my try to put this together in a cohesive way, in that particular tribe, a Mohawk was indicative of grief. You shaved that Mohawk into your head, and until it grew out to its normal length again, you were essentially mourning. And the first time I did that was when my brother committed suicide. So if it comes about, it's usually because I miss my brother. So I'll just get in the mood and zip it in. So that's where that comes from. It may actually, because it certainly changes my look to the nth degree. But it may actually be something that we include in the character for exactly the same reason. So the director digs it and wants to do that, but it'll probably be toward later seasons. So that's the story of the Mohawk. Nobody cuts in front of you in line when you have a Mohawk, by the way.
To think about. Style wise, I mean, I've tried a lot of different things with my hair over the time. So, I'm not a judgmental person. I noticed a couple times I see the different faces of you. Like here, we'll do a blast from the past. How's that?
Sure.
Let's see here. Let's do this here. Oh, here we go. Here's a blast from the past.
I
was there a while ago. That's when Burton had short hair. And dark. His hair was dark. Tony Ortega.
There you
That
go.
was different. There we go. And then, so before we go too farther down, I happen to have, going back to the movie, I happen to have the sizzle reel. Should we play that for folks?
Absolutely. Because
we got so much. I got so into the story about what you're doing, I completely forgot to play the reel. So let's do this. It's a cool thing when I get to run everything. I get to say what we do when we do it. So here we go. This has this been aired anywhere?
No, this is first.
This
showing.
Is an FMA Talk exclusive. Warlord sizzle reel. Here we go. Very nice. Very, very nice. And I'm gonna.
By the way, I only just saw that the first time yesterday.
Okay.
So
and then I'm not gonna say it. Tim Dobson is saying it. Here we go. Looks like it'll be off the chain. That is boom.
Super. That's
boom.
the intention.
Mike has been dropped.
Boom.
Actually, since we do Filipino martial arts, you just dropped the kamagong. That's not rattan. That's a kamagong drop.
Kamagong stick. Absolutely.
That looks bad. Getting back to this at the moment, real quick. When you asked for people to reach out, like, okay, wrong one. No, it's okay. I can. I'll not the one I wanted. Oh, hold on. Image file. Here we go. So I actually have someone I'd reach out to. I got a SAG actor that was in Cobra Kai and is doing a whole bunch of stuff. He actually just did something with Butterbean today. Sent me a picture of him getting knocked out by Butterbean. Like, okay. But okay, to make life, hopefully to simplify things for you, you sit there and said, passionate ambassadors.
Yeah.
Would you want the likes of a Remy Praces, a Bobby Tabuada, a Danny Nasano?
Absolutely.
I mean, okay, so you're looking for anybody and everybody.
And absolutely. So, at the end of the day, I'm gonna put this in the simplest terms possible, and I'll segue off to my personal rules when it comes to teaching. I don't teach anybody I don't like. Period. I don't enter into or remain in teaching situations that make me hate teaching. Those are my kind of two rules when it comes to martial arts. So the director is sort of in the same boat. He's worked on enough projects to know that having somebody on the set that is a prima donna or thinks the world revolves around them just makes it an unpleasant experience. So the people who out there who feel like they're the center of the universe and that they've got kind of an overly stoked ego, take a couple of steps back, calm yourself down before you write that to me, because that's probably going to get no response. But absolutely, I mean, Bobby Tabuada would be fantastic if he's up to it. Romeo Macapagal would be fantastic. So there's so many people that would just be fantastic. And again, my intention is to use people in the way that is sort of highlights them and showcases them in the best possible way. So some individuals would probably be great to do training scenes with, for example, because if we don't get to see the details and the beauty and the flow of their art, we would miss that opportunity, and I would regret that. Other people might be better at doing some kind of an applied training scene where they're perhaps backing my character up or working with me and several other characters to accomplish some sort of a mission. So it's all about using the person to the best for the story. Obviously, everything is for the story, but also I wouldn't want to have Taboada come in and not have him show his explosiveness. That would just be a foolish waste of time. So,
yeah. So is this a SAG project?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Okay. All right.
But also, by the way, absolutely, I had an experience when I was very young. My teacher was not feeling well that day, so he said that I would work out with his wife. And I was young enough for that to be a sad comment to me, because I still had kind of a sexist way of looking at it. And this wonderful old lady just proceeded to rip me to pieces for a few hours in the backyard. And she'd been training with him for 50 years. So I say that because I absolutely want women to apply. This is not a male-centric thing. But other than that, the full scope that I've written there, the acknowledged masters and teachers, the dedicated, highly skilled practitioners, it's really about showcasing FMA. I want to make this, as much as it's all about the story, it's all and only about making the stories rock. There's an opportunity for us here to educate and inform and enlighten people to the depth and beauty of this martial art of ours. So.
Well, I have a guy who's a SAG actor I'm actually forwarding this to as we speak. Because that's what I do.
Well, don't count yourself out.
Well, I wasn't going to say it, but I do plan on seeing you said don't count yourself out. Yes, you will be. I will be sending something to you to officially put my hand. I mean, listen.
Well, I wanted to make certain you and I understood that I would want you to do so. So.
Well, and thank you so much, sir. So listen, this is a great opportunity. And listen, none of us should get butthurt if we put our names in and we don't make the cut, because it's not about us. But here's the thing: a rising tide raises all ships. So if this movie project or the series or whatever this becomes elevates the public awareness for Filipino martial arts, it's good for all of us. Remy would come into a town, do a seminar where there was no, would be a karate guy would have Remy in, but there was another Filipino instructor in that area. That Filipino instructor could potentially, and many times did, get the benefit of Remy doing a seminar there, because they're like, well, I want to see Remy whenever he's around. Well, that's once a year. Well, what do I do in the meantime? Well, let's see if there's a local FMA school here. This, and I remember people writing magazines. My classmates, one of my classmates wrote for Black Belt, and people were butthurt about it. I'm like, hey, what's the problem? Like, what do you mean? I go like, okay, they're going to look this guy up. He's in Texas, right? Yeah. Well, anyone in Buffalo, they're going to find out he's in Texas. I wonder if there's a guy here in Buffalo that trains modern arts. Oh, wait, there's this Tim Hartman dude. This helps all of us. So,
sure.
Real quick.
Well, in talking with the director, I actually said if this goes the way that he and I were at the time, kind of laying it out with regard to the inclusion of the Filipino martial arts, I said this could do for FMA what the Kung Fu television series did for Kung Fu and martial arts in general back then.
Hopefully. So, I'm not going to hold my breath, because I think, because of this, I think the days that movies have that Karate Kid type presence and Enter the Dragon type presence, I think those days are long gone. That being said, I still think there's still a lot of influence that helps out a lot of it. Every bit counts. We should, anytime we have an opportunity to be in front of a camera or a social media outlet or whatever it is, the more that we are being promoted as Filipino martial artists first, I think we need to take that. I mean, I was always bummed out during Arrow, which did a lot of Filipino martial arts in there, that they didn't name it. Even you what?
I prepped him for that role. They sent him to study with me before he started that
There
series.
you go. Is he a nice guy?
Nice guy. Huh?
I was hoping, you know. I also saw him in Heels, where he was kind of a douchebag, but you know, I always liked his character.
If he plays a dirtbag and you don't like him, he just might be a good actor.
Yeah, no, it's just what I like.
You know?
When I remember Arrow. I loved him in Arrow. Then I saw him in Heels, and I'm like, oh, he's good. Because I don't know if I'm like, oh, this guy's kind of a jerk here. This is cool, you know. So I love
those people who might reach out, and you asked about this. I have this. This is in the microcosmic world of teaching. I obviously put out images and videos and so forth on my Instagram, and I have a little rule that it's a pledge really that I give my students, that I will never ever post anything that doesn't make you look great. I won't post pictures where you have one eye closed and look like you're asleep. I just won't do that.
Gotcha.
So I extend that out to people that we're reaching out to here to say that what I want to do is I want to make everybody shine. I want this art to be where it should be. So that's my objective in doing this.
I think it's a great thing. So I love the Filipino martial arts with Tony Johnson says that was awesome. Interesting name for a YouTube channel. And then Antonio says, greetings, master. We love talking to Antonio. He's a good guy. No, I mean, this is amazing. I mean, to be in not the driver's seat, but be part of the core team that's making this project go, and then sharing it with the community, looking at a bigger picture. I mean, how selfless is that? I mean, obviously, and well, it's not selfless. He's working this project, of course it is, but there's no need to include us. You can make it all about Mark, but Mark is opening up to the community.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to make. In fact, I said when we were kind of in the early stages, when we were just talking about scenes and so forth, I said to the director Ralph, I said, even if it's just this, if we're doing a scene and there's training and it might be a talking heads or a dialogue scene in the foreground with me, my character talking to another character, the training that's going on in the background, I want those guys to be the best FMA guys in the world. I don't want it to be a bunch of guys doing patty cake with sticks. I want you to see some seriously good guys all the time. Everything that we show on camera is the best of the best.
Nice. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm trying to think of the things that hey, Knucklehead, be quiet. Hold on. Well, there's worse things I can call my dog, but
that's true.
Yeah. So
in my father's scrapbooks from World War II in the Philippines, there's a picture of a dog, and on the back of the picture it says Anvil Head. so I've always loved that name. I've never named a dog that, but I've always loved that as a name for a dog. So
interesting. So obviously we have your website here, fightology.com. And then we've got your information here once again. Let me see here. Let me put it back up here. We need to get a hold of you. And actually, there we go. Mark at fightology.com for anything, I'm assuming, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's my personal email.
So if you want to get a hold of Mark, okay. And then don't forget, he's got his book on Amazon. And there's and I'm assuming on the Fightology website there's links for the book and your videos and stuff like that.
And out of respect for you, truly, I didn't make any mention of this, the film project that we're working on, until the podcast. After this, I'll start putting stuff up on the site. I wanted you to have the exclusive in that regard. So, by the way, the one thing that we didn't mention, and I do this, is I love teaching seminars. So if you want to host me, give me a call, give me a shout out. If you're speaking, I can't hear you.
Let me say it one more time. Antonio.
It's great.
Antonio, Mark is located in the metro LA area. So if you're out that way. Cool. And thanks for, this is great. I mean, we're the ones, the first to bring you this new movie project. This is awesome. This is, this film project, I don't want to say film anymore. Well, whether it's digital film or whatever, it's still all good.
It just depends.
It's all good. That's just amazing. I love it. So is the girl that popped up with the combat stuff with the eyes that really drilled in you, is she part of the cast, or is that just?
Yeah, she is. Shada. She's a great actor. She I believe that she met Ralph through probably Stranger Things. I hope I'm not mistaken in that regard. Okay. But she's a great actress and terrific lady. So
thanks for the exclusive. Okay, there we go. Our brothers down in Tijuana, I think it's awesome. Listen, this is, I mean, that when she popped up, and even wearing the whole thing, I'm like, whoa.
Well, and I got to tell you that the plight of women in Afghanistan is such a powerful thing that it is a very strong aspect of the story. Very strong.
Okay.
Her character is essentially a renegade and fighting for the freedoms and the safety of the women in the story and in Afghanistan in general. It's very, very powerful. So it was one of the things that drew me so strongly to do the project. So.
Amazing. So, is there anything else you wanted to cover? I mean, I think this has been a really, I think we're a little over an hour. I'm very pleased with what we got. And like I said, the show is just badass. And the wall, I mean, your mural, it's amazing. And now they have the story, knowing that it was a 3-year project. These are all the questions like, did he do it all at once? Did he just start with this? And then there's all right, and as you needed stuff there's it's because your father encouraged you to do this as a kid, even better, just all the things that are coming together. But
there's my dad, by the way.
Oh, there you go. Okay, cool. Nice. So, is there something that we haven't touched on that you would like to bring up?
Other than if you have questions, or if people who are watching have any questions, can't think of anything.
Well, there we go. How about our viewers? Let's hear from you guys. And how often do you do seminars in general?
Say it one more time. How often?
How often do you go on the road and do seminars?
Not often enough. I mean, it's cliche. I love to share the art, and I think my viewpoint is I've got enough time in the art where I have something to offer people, and I can bring them a new understanding. And I only get positive reviews when I teach seminars, so I'd love to get out there and do more of them. I'm certainly willing to come to the East Coast. Hint, hint.
Have you ever been to Niagara Falls yet?
I have never been to Niagara Falls. No.
I'm only 30 minutes away. So
that's cool.
You know what? This might be another exclusive. We might just have to make something happen.
That'd be great.
All right. Let me see. No one's chiming in. I think we are answering a lot of questions as we go. Also, this could be each week's a little different. So
of course,
a lot of times, like last week's show, we went from 2,000 views and most of our views, we're up to 5,800 views on that show. So we knocked it out of the park. Let me see here. Why is my hair? Yeah. So he wants to know why your do is better than mine. Okay. Because we've got different stylists.
There you go. It's an East Coast.
I did mine on my own. It's just.
As did I.
Yeah, there you go. I wish Ty was here. My co-host that's normally here with us, because he'd probably ask. He's good at asking out of the box questions, He just right now he's getting to retire from a government type job, and
Government type.
government type, yeah, kind of oversight thing. He's not an operator or any sort of thing, but you know. Oh, here's one. Uh oh. Look at this. Look at this. Come to Canada side of the falls, so the view is better. Okay, and well, of course. Do you have a passport?
I do, and I have time in
definitely
Canada.
bring it.
So
So, Tim, what are you trying to say? What about if he's on the Canadian side? Maybe someone might want to have a Canadian seminar with Mark while he's over there too.
sounds like a good idea.
Just a thought. Just a thought. You get a twofer. That's a big thing in Canada. Everything's a twofer. Like,
That's because they've got toonies.
But I'm bump.
Yeah.
All right. No. This is really good. And we'll be talking about Mark's Can-Am tour in the future.
I like that.
There we go. Yeah, that's in the region. A lot of the sports, since if it's done on both sides, it's all Can-Am. I don't know. Everyone's like, why is it an Am-Cam? But, oh, here we go. Hell yeah. There we go. And boom. Let me see here. Hope Mark can host the Datu. I'm only 2 hours drive. Okay. Well, so they want to know. So maybe we'll do something down your way too. We'll go a little double header stuff.
Cool. Yeah.
There we go. See, now we're making shit happen. So
as we should.
Tijuana's not that far. Okay. Wait a minute. Here's the question. Me being the guy I am, and you and I both are the guys that say what comes. Are you sure you want to try coming across the border? I mean, Trump might send you to El Salvador or something like that. And
True.
Stop it. Bad Tim. Tim. Okay. Oh, you're just upset that you didn't say it first.
Exactly. Yeah. I am that guy, as I mentioned.
Yeah. I get that vibe definitely. So listen, this is pretty cool. I know this is a great, and obviously we covered some of the stuff last week, and we got to talk to you about other things too. Talk about the school and stuff like that. No, but I think this is a very good show, and definitely would love to have you back, just to have you back. And the guys are laughing their eyes out because we're funny. Funny haha or funny looking, it doesn't matter. It goes both ways. It's all good.
It's a mixture. It's a blend of the two.
Yeah. So
no, I'd love to come back. I enjoy our conversation, so it'd be great.
Yeah. Hopefully my boy Ty will be on here, because I think that would be much better for all of us. I mean, because he adds a lot to the show when we're around. So and just like I said, he's in that process right now of switching jobs. He's going to be moving closer to us, so it'll be easier when he comes to our events, because my school is the headquarters for the organization, so a lot of things. My school's kind of centrally located for a lot of us, so we all come here and do this. So he'll actually be up here next week. Actually, yeah.
By the way, I think you just had a birthday, so happy birthday.
Yep. Thank you. Oh, let me see here. Now what's going on? Yeah, my birthday's actually Wednesday.
This coming Wednesday. So
this coming Wednesday, but we're celebrating. Yeah, but we're going to be celebrating at our training camp, and I want to make sure that Ty is mine's a week after the camp's a week after my birthday, and then his birthday is next month, and I just want to make sure that we're all celebrating together. That sucks if he is moving to the DMV. Okay. Happy birthday. Thank you. All right. So a lot of things to be discussed today. So that's pretty cool. All right. Well, listen, check out Mark at fightology.com. Oh, that seemed to disappear. Wait, what happened here? Your name, you're underneath your. Oh, I know why. Because the post is there. That's why. I left the post up. I got to remember to, when I leave a comment below, it wipes out our thing. So obviously, anything, hashtag at Datu on the 4 platforms. Moving out of the DMV, I mean. Okay. And Mark at fightology.com is his email, or just go to fightology.com. Check out his website.
My Instagram is just at Mark Mikita, so you can go there as well.
Oh, there we go. Check out the website. Look for the book on Amazon. Check out the online courses. So much there. And Tim's the 14th, 61 this year. Well, good. You're the old man, because Ty keeps busting my chops that I'm a month older than him. Oh, well, that's actually because. Well, yeah. I wasn't going to go there, Mark. But Tim looks like the Tims, Tim and Tim. We look like the old guys. So there we go. But no, we just, it's about the family, and I want to make sure the family all gets to celebrate together. So that's kind of cool there. All right. And yeah. Well, check out this stuff. We'll definitely look at having Mark on again. And when we have the Can-Am tour worked out, we will definitely make announcements on that as well. And we're going to wrap up. So, Mark, just stay on for a minute afterwards. We'll do the debrief, go through some things real quick. So, listen, as always, this is a pleasure. This is 5 years of doing this, which is crazy because I didn't think I was going to last 5 episodes. I get bored or missed, or distracted because, I've got ADHD along with OCD, and sometimes the two just kind of make me go in different directions. This is always a pleasure to have people watch what we're doing and show interest, and have people like Mark on the show, and others who've joined and added to the dialogue. And this is truly a dialogue, which has always been what we're trying to promote here. I don't want this to be a monologue. And sure. All the viewers are what makes us successful. All of our fans, and even if you're watching and you don't like me, you're still watching, so you're a fan in the long run. So, and Tim saying, time well spent. Thank you, gents. Oh, thank you. So the Canadians are so nice. They're such nice people. Even when they're being mean, oh, shut up. Oh, I'm sorry. You okay?
They'll apologize for apology.
There we go. There we go. All right. Then we'll just double check that. Yeah. Have a good night. Thank you, Antonio. Thank you very much. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone once again for Pop. Oh, I got to take that off. Keep going back and forth. That's the only problem. There we go. All right. So this is always a pleasure, and I want to, so this is Dr. Tim. This is my good friend, Mark Mikita, and we'll see you all soon.